In the summer of 2014, Audi Sport won Le Mans with the incredible diesel hybrid R18 E-tron. To celebrate this, Audi's 5th consecutive victory and 13th since 1999, they invited us to Misano in Italy to drive the bug-spattered winner from 2014's epic race. Track tests don't come much more special than this. So the day's been a fascinating insight into how Audi Sport operate and meeting some of the characters behind the team and the cars. We had quite a detailed briefing this morning on how the R18 functions, because as it looks when you're in it and when you're driving it, it bears very little relation to any kind of normal car you've ever driven. Built around an incredibly strong carbon safety cell and pushed into the ground by massive levels of aerodynamic downforce, the R18 e-tron is an astonishing looking machine. It's powered by 2 propulsion systems, a 4-litre V6 turbo diesel developing 573 brake horsepower and driving the rear wheels, and a KERS system which harvests and deploys an additional 228 horsepower via an electric motor generator unit mounted on the front axle. Super efficient, super fast and super reliable, it's perfectly evolved for the demands of endurance racing. The driving environment itself is so tightly packaged, and you're aware of this KERS system right by your left elbow. You've got the screen is way in front of you and a tiny sort of letterbox slit to view the circuit with. So again, it's not claustrophobic, but you're totally kind of squished into the car, and it emphasises the fact that you're in something totally amazing to be in, and then before you know it, you're released out onto the circuit for a very short period of time. We have four laps, so an out lap, 2 flying laps, and an in lap.
Okay, Richard, you can start the engine, pull the clutch first, and you're fit to go. Okay, Richard, pit speed off, exit of pit lane.
One of the really amazing things about the opportunity is you appreciate how much the drivers are dealing with. They're dealing with driving one of the fastest race cars in the world and racing against other cars. They're lapping slower cars, they may be dealing with adverse weather conditions, and because of the regulations and the rules for Le Mans, it's all about energy usage. So whilst the hybrid stuff they don't have to worry about, the drivers and the engineers are in charge of how much diesel, in the case of the R18, is used every lap, and the organisers and the FIA are monitoring that. So if they exceed their allowance, they have to save fuel within the next 2 laps, or they face some really severe sort of race result ruining penalties. Because the car looks so alien, and when you're in it, it's totally alien as well. Initially it's quite hard to have any reference points to its performance. In straight line terms, it's massively impressive because they're now allowed to release all the KERS energy from a standstill, whereas before it used to be, I don't know, 200 kilometers an hour, 150 kilometers an hour or something. So that was to help them with traction and try and avoid 4-wheel drive within the LMP1 rules. But now they've allowed that. You've got this massive boost of power from the KERS system and also from the V6 turbo. So the way it rips through the revs, you're constantly trying to keep up with the shift lights. It's still very hard to relate that performance to maybe what a McLaren P1 or a 918 Spider or something would feel like. I suspect it's not massively different, but where these cars really are a totally different world is under braking and through high-speed corners, where it's if your ability as a fast road driver is here, these things are way beyond anything you've ever felt and understand and experienced, and there's really no hope of really scratching the surface of that in the time we have.
Richard, pit speed on. Pit speed on.
Copy that, let's get late now.
Okay, Richard, remember clutch as you're coming to a stop to avoid engine stalling.
Thank you so much for that. That was amazing.
No problem, Richard. Glad you enjoyed it.
So you look on your data trace and you see you were hitting it as hard as you felt comfortable, and it's probably 60% of the pedal effort that the pro guys are doing. In that respect, it's a totally different world. Today's been one of those days that's partly humbling because you realise how much better a professional driver is than you will ever be. Partly tantalising because you've had a taste of what they drive, and although you know you're not going to be as good as them, you want to taste a little bit more. But ultimately it's just been a real privilege to get close to these cars. To see more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel.